In this bonus episode of the Locked On Bucs podcast, David and I are doing a full first round mock draft just ahead of the start of the 2022 NFL draft. Let's go.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Bucs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Happy draft day, everybody. For those of you tuning in for the first time or just need a little reminder, I am James Yarcho, joined by my fantastic co-host, David Harrison. Both of us cover your Tampa Bay Buccaneers as on this show, as well as in written form. I'm over at BucsNation.com. David is at BucsGameDay.com. And this bonus episode is brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn about the trends and the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. This episode, pretty simple. Full first round mock draft. We are going to do every pick for every team. No trades. We're going to keep things a little bit easy. No trades in this one. David is covering the odd picks. I'm covering the even picks. We are going to make the Buccaneers pick together and give you the official Locked On Bucs stamped Buccaneers first round player. So with that, David, let's get to the draft.
All right, guys. So here we have our handy dandy PFF mock draft simulator. This is what we're going to be using. Real quick, James, since the Miami Redhawks obviously threw up all over you tonight. Dominique Robinson, Miami of Ohio edge rusher, has very quietly become one of my favorite day three prospects. A very raw edge defender, but is actually very talented considering how inexperienced he is, which makes him very exciting, especially if he gets coached by the likes of Larry Foote and all those. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. Dominique Robinson, an extra bonus name to keep an eye out for. But we're not here for that. We're here for the Jacksonville Jaguars to see how they can Jaguar this number one pick, all kinds of sideways. Listen, Travon Walker has gained a lot of steam recently, but I really want to believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars are maybe turning a corner, even though they decided not to get rid of Trent Baalke in order to bring in Byron Leftwich. Does not elicit a lot of confidence in their decision-making, but we are going to start this thing off with Aiden Hutchinson, the number one overall pick, going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, probably the first time in NFL history that a Michigan Wolverine was selected first overall for good reason.
Sir, calm down. Also, I don't think Aiden Hutchinson is going number one overall. You and I, we are one pick in and we already disagree. I think the Travon Walker talk is, I think it's real.
It could be real. It could be real, but I'm going to go. This is supposed to be a predictive, right? It's supposed to be like what we think they're going to do, but I just refuse to believe the Jacksonville Jaguars could do that. So we're already off the rails.
All right. Well, this makes this pick a little bit more difficult because I thought for sure you were gonna go with Travon Walker. So the Detroit Lions, they need everything.
Pretty
much like the number 3 overall pick needs literally everything. But in a division where you're going up against high-powered offenses, high-powered quarterbacks, even a quarterback with some mobility, you're gonna want to be able to get after that position. I don't think they make this much harder than it needs to be. They go with Kayvon Thibodeaux, the edge rusher out of Oregon.
All right, Kayvon Thibodeaux going to the Detroit Lions at number 2. And like you said, so I'm back up on the clock. The Houston Texans, who, like you mentioned, literally need everything, every single thing on the board they could use. So
it even says needs every position.
Yeah, it literally says every position. So I think you're going best player available, right? And as far as I'm concerned, I know PFF obviously has this board a little bit different. Best player available, in my opinion, is Ahmad Sauce Gardner, cornerback out of Cincinnati. So we're going to pull the trigger on that. And Sauce, look, love you, brother, but unfortunately, you have to start your NFL career in Houston, and hopefully 5 years from now, you can resurrect your career somewhere else.
Hey, if there is one thing we know about Lovie Smith, it's that he loves to build a defense from the back to the front. Even though that makes no sense at all, he does love to do it. So
we probably should have gone Kyle Hamilton there, actually.
No, let's, back defensive back, it's still kind of the back end of the defense. So, all right, the New York Jets now on the clock. A lot of talk about them going wide receiver. I certainly don't think that wide receiver is the choice at number 4. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to try to help keep their quarterback that they drafted last year upright, try to give him some time to, throw to whoever they pick at number 10. And I really like the fit of Evan Neal here to the New York Jets. So I'm going Evan Neal, number 4 overall.
All right, Evan Neal from Alabama going number 4 to the Jets. So we're ignoring some of the health concerns. It's all smokescreen. The Jets are just putting out noise, trying to get their guy to drop to them. We've seen it before. The New York Giants, I think this is the first place to see a quarterback go. James, I think the New York Giants, if they know anything, they know that Danny Dimes is not the answer. The question is, who is the answer and how quickly do they need that answer? I think everybody agrees Malik Willis has the most upside of any quarterback in this class. But if you're the New York Giants, you're going to need an answer faster than that, which means the most pro-ready quarterback in this very, very limited quarterback class is the guy. So Kenny Pickett, who almost kind of looks like a little bit of a Danny Dimes, is going to go to New York and probably replace Daniel Jones by, I'd say, week 4 or 5. That just happened.
I mean, I think that's our first big surprise because honestly, you probably could have gotten Kenny Pickett. I mean, you definitely could have gotten Kenny Pickett at number 7.
I don't know. Listen, the Carolina Panthers have been tied to quarterback. And again, they're a team that needed quarterback in 2022, not 2023. So who knows what Matt Rule would do to try to save his job.
I absolutely believe the Carolina Panthers are going quarterback at number 6. And I absolutely believe that the Carolina Panthers are going quarterback right now. But I think the quarterback for them is going to end up being Malik Willis out of Liberty. I think, just the athleticism, the upside there. I think Malik Willis has a lower floor than Kenny Pickett does, but because he's coming into the NFL a little bit more raw, needs to develop a little bit more, he has a much, much, much higher ceiling. So if this is a hit for the Carolina Panthers, then he's going to be a force for a really long time. Whereas on the flip side, I think Kenny Pickett, not nearly as high of a ceiling, but you kind of already know where his floor is. It's a little bit higher than Daniel Jones, but I don't see Pickett developing into a stud or a superstar.
No, absolutely not. No, I agree with everything you just said. I just believe that the Giants are going to go with the guy that can start now. And honestly, Malik Willis is a great pick for the Carolina Panthers, unfortunately for Buccaneers fans, and unfortunately for Matt Rule, because he's not going to be around long enough to coach him to his ceiling. But New York Giants are back on the clock. I think you get yourself a brand new quarterback. You got to go and you got to fix the offensive line problem that you didn't solve a couple of years ago when you took the wrong top 4 tackle. So in this one, you're going to take the guy who spent a lot of time as a consensus number 1 tackle on this board, and you're going to take Ike Mekwonu out of NC State at number 7.
Ooh, you're leaving me in a tough spot here with the Atlanta Falcons. They're another one. They need a quarterback. Marcus Mariota is not that dude, but they're not taking one at number 8. But you are in a division with Tom Brady, with Jameis Winston. You're going to need some help getting after the quarterback. The slide for Travon Walker ends here. They're going to take the hometown kid, Travon Walker, out of Georgia there to start working on that defensive side of the ball.
All right. So, I mean, look, Locked On Bucs. I mean, I was only half a Locked On Bucs. So Locked On Bucs doesn't buy the number 1 overall pick, Travon Walker hype, only because James Yarcho wasn't picking number 1. But he doesn't last very much longer going number 8. The Seattle Seahawks. I think the Seattle Seahawks are a very interesting team. Obviously, again, quarterback could be a spot there. Edge rusher could be a spot there. But I think that with Hutchinson gone, with Walker gone, with Thibodeau gone, I don't think they make the reach here for Charles Cross, even though I don't know if it's that big of a reach. I mean, according to PFF, it's not a reach at all. I think they go to start trying to rebuild that defense, James. I think this is where we see the safety that I might have already scrolled past. Kyle Hamilton, there he is. I think we see, look, he's gotten some Cam Chancellor comps Kyle Hamilton has. And I mean, I think that if you're the Seattle Seahawks, you pair Kyle Hamilton with Jamal Adams. Again, building the defense from the back forward is not necessarily the orthodox way to do it. But if you've already got a head start with Jamal Adams back there, you go ahead, you add Kyle Hamilton in there, and you've got at least a decent start to building your defense back up.
All right, that puts the Jets back up on the clock. I'm surprised. I thought for sure we were going to have Kyle Hamilton slip to the Washington Commanders there at 11, but
not going to force it though. Not going to force it.
That's right. So the New York Jets, I've already said it. I think they go a wide receiver here. Peter King actually tweeted out on Wednesday night that if you want one of the top 4 receivers, you need to get in the top 13. So that's pretty interesting because obviously that would mean that the next 4 picks, we would have to take a wide receiver at all 4.
Run on wide receivers here
for those. But Jameson Williams isn't the guy, in my opinion, for the New York Jets. And it has nothing to do with his talent or his ability. It's the timetable. And when you're trying to mesh Jameson Williams and the quarterback, you have to have time. You have to have the full offseason. You have to have training camp. You have to have preseason games. You have to get that timing down. I think they're going to go with ya boy out of Ohio State, Garrett Wilson.
Ooh, Garrett Wilson goes number 10 to the New York Jets. Not the first time I've seen that. Certainly wouldn't be a bad decision for Robert Saleh and the New York Jets there. That puts the Washington Commanders, I almost said football team, on the clock. And if anybody has no excuse to do that, it's me, right? So, look, Peter King might be onto something, and wide receiver is definitely a position of need. Obviously, DB is. I don't believe in Derek Stingley. You watch the tape, Derek Stingley is too inconsistent from the last time we saw him, and we haven't even seen him really put down film in such a long time. I'm not going to draft a guy based off of tape or based off of workouts, but I will draft a guy who has the highest upside of any wide receiver in this group, because you know what? We can wait, James. We can wait if we need to, because Carson Wentz, he may be the answer. He may not be the answer at the end of the day. Next year, if he's not the answer, we can get rid of him with 0 dead cap and really not a whole lot worse off for the wear. So we're going Jameson Williams, and we will be patient and we will wait to pair him with Terry McLaurin. And again, if Carson Wentz can't make that work around Thanksgiving or so, we'll bench him. We'll keep our 3rd round pick from turning into a 2nd, and we'll come back next year and get CJ Stroud.
I don't disagree with your pick at all. I think it's a great pick for the Washington Commanders and a great compliment there to Terry McLaurin. McLaurin is an absolute monster. I love Terry McLaurin, and I don't think I'll ever be able to say that enough on the Locked On Bucs podcast. What I do disagree with is your take on Derek Stingley. The Minnesota Vikings are sprinting. They are handing this card to Justin Jefferson just to make sure that it gets there even faster. Derek Stingley in that defense is going to be insanely good. This guy has all pro caliber talent. He could end up being the best corner in this class by a very wide margin. I love this fit for Stingley. I love this fit for the Minnesota Vikings. And the dude doesn't even have to change his wardrobe. He could just keep rocking purple and gold for the next decade. And he's already set. Love Stingley to the Vikings.
And you don't got to worry about that south to north transfer since Minnesota wisely built themselves a dome. Back here with the Houston Texans. So with the Houston Texans, we've already drafted Ahmad Garner. So we've already gone cornerback. We got Lovie Smith in town. We know they want to go with Davis Mills for at least the next year. I think Charles Cross, I mean, he's the 3rd overall player on this board. Maybe not the 3rd overall player in everybody's, but 13 is way too far for this young man to already be sitting. This is the story of the 1st round. Charles Cross is still sitting in the green room. I don't even know if he's actually going to be in Vegas, but Charles Cross comes off the board here to the Houston Texans.
All right, that brings up the Baltimore Ravens in one of the toughest divisions in football. You have the defending AFC champions there. You have Deshaun Watson coming to town. You have the Steelers, who are going to have a little bit of a speed bump this year because Mitch Trubisky is a thing and really shouldn't be. But Baltimore has to be able to stop these high-octane offenses. And can you name a better Baltimore Ravens defender in this class than George Karlaftis? The dude is an absolute monster. They need an edge rusher. This is their guy. Karlaftis should be a top 10 pick. He might even get outside the top 15, and I just don't understand why. But George Karlaftis, he's going to look legit in that Ravens uniform.
Well, he plays like a Raven, right? He's got a little bit of an attitude, plays with a lot of power. I definitely think it fits the mantra there. I'm not really big on George Karlaftis. I'm one of the guys, I see him, don't be wrong, he looks strong, but everybody's strong in the NFL. If your specialty is being strong, you're going to fall short on a couple things. Somebody whose specialty is being big and being long and catching passes that can come off trajectory every once in a while is Drake London. And Jalen Hurts needs him a wide receiver that can catch things that aren't thrown right onto to a spot. And Drake London can throw those mitts out there and snag some off-target passes from Jalen Hurts. So he's going to be our pick here at number 15 for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Really good fit there in Philadelphia. All right, New Orleans Saints at pick number 16. They get a punter. Forget them.
They get a punter. Absolutely.
No,
but not any punter. They get the number 1 punter.
No, they get the number 3 punter.
Oh, they get Cameron. Nope, not saying that. They get Gabe Burkich out of Oklahoma. Send it in.
No, they're going to run out of time and have to forfeit their pick. So the New Orleans Saints, they need a wide receiver. They need a tackle. They need some help on the defensive side of the ball. Trent McDuffie is really, really intriguing here. Mm-hmm. But I think at this stage, you need to help out your offensive line. There's still some really good receivers sitting there for them. You worry about the Chargers maybe taking one, but you don't have to worry about the Eagles doubling up. So you're going to have, Chris Olave could still be there for him. Sky Moore could still be there for him. Jahan Dotson could still be there for him. I want to take Bernard Raymond and help out this offensive line first, and then we can worry about wide receiver a little bit later.
Yeah, very interesting. It's interesting. James Yarcho does not care about late medical revelations. Both these guys, both 2 tackles that have late medical concerns in the ultimate week of lying, both taken by James Yarcho represented teams. Los Angeles Chargers, they need wide receiver, they need tackle, they need cornerback. So obviously we're going to go Davonte Wyatt out of Georgia, and I will tell you why. Charles Davis of NFL.com put out his final mock draft, has Davonte Wyatt going to the Los Angeles Chargers, and his write above it inspired me to write an article for BucsGameDay.com saying, look, Davonte Wyatt may just be out of the Buccaneers' reach. It just may be a thing. A lot of people want Davonte to go to Tampa. He honestly may have worked himself up to where he's just going to be out of reach. There are some rumors coming out that there may be some character issues in his past. And again, this is the time of year. What does that mean? It means teams are trying to get him to fall down the board, which means they know that he's probably not going to fall down the board. I think the Chargers know what's real talent, and they're going to take Davonte Wyatt number 17 because Charles Davis said so.
I love Charles Davis. Charles Davis helped me make fun of my friend who had never seen the movie Animal House, even though I let him borrow the DVD. He still has the DVD. He's had it for 8 years and still has not watched Animal House. Really surprised by the pick, but I really love the pick. It helps an AFC West become even tougher. Eagles next up. I'm not going to overthink this one. They're going to get Devin Lloyd there in their defense. They need a linebacker, and they need one in a really, really bad way. Devin Lloyd is going to slide in and be the perfect fit there for Philadelphia to help shut down the unbelievable athleticism of Carson Wentz there with the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, with Jameson Williams and Terry McLaurin. So this sets me up perfectly to give Ross Jackson the New Orleans Saints Chris Olave. So we're just going to move on to the next pick.
He's a Saint. That means I'm allowed to continue to hate him. The Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock. Again, not going to overthink this one at all. They're going quarterback. Mitch Trubisky is not that dude. They've been very interested in some of the quarterbacks, especially one that's not too far down the road from Pittsburgh. The 2 cities are connected by a river, and that is Desmond Ridder, the quarterback out of the University of Cincinnati. The dude, if they give him the time and they don't force him into the starting lineup immediately because they have to deal with Mitch Trubisky, he can develop into an absolute baller in the NFL. I love Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, listen, when Lamar Jackson came out, I remember going, the Baltimore Ravens are a really good spot for Lamar Jackson if he ends up there. When Deshaun Watson came out, I remember saying the Houston Texans were a really good spot for Deshaun Watson to come out. Both of them went there. They both worked. Desmond Ridder and the Pittsburgh Steelers makes a scary amount of sense. So if that happens, it could be very, very good for Desmond Ridder. Hopefully doesn't go the route that one of those guys did, because, that would ruin pretty much everything. The New England Patriots, very interesting situation. I think they really want one of the wide receivers who's already come off the board to not come off the board. So I think the New England Patriots sitting here at 21. You want to go wide receiver. I like me some Sky Moore, but I just think it's a little too high. Even though PFF has him ranked 22nd overall, the Pats are at 21. I still think that's too high. for this guy. So I think that the New England Patriots, they go a little bit off script and they go corner instead, and they take Andrew Booth Jr. out of Clemson.
That's a really surprising pick, and it's a really, really good pick. Yeah, I mean, Bill Belichick is never going to do what you expect him to do. And he's probably going to trade out of this pick and get like 17 more picks throughout the course of the NFL draft. But we're not doing trades here. Yeah. So Andrew Booth, really good fit for the New England Patriots. The Packers I'm having some trouble with, because do they go with the wide receiver here, or do they take their chances and wait it out until pick number 28 to see who is still available? There's still a couple of wide receivers that I think fit really well with Green Bay. I'm not going to press the issue right here. What I am going to do is I'm going to ignore the fact that the screen says that one of the team needs is offensive line, because one of the other team needs is defensive line, and I'm going to give them Jordan Davis, the defensive lineman out of Georgia. This is a big dude. They can help them control the middle, help collapse some pockets. He's really, really good, and he's going to continue to develop. And I think I realize this says he's a one-trick pony. I think he's going to have much more than just one trick in his bag when all is said and done.
Yeah, look, Jordan Davis may be a little bit of a one-trick pony, but he does that one trick really, really well. That leaves me with the Arizona Cardinals, and they have a problem, James. They have a quarterback that is not happy. He doesn't like the situation going on with his team, and he needs some help. As you see here, he needs guard help. He needs a center. Tyler Linderbaum, the best true center in this class. They're going to give him a new guy to snap the ball to him and try to appease him for one more year. It's probably not going to work, but at least he'll have a really good center for years to come.
Absolutely. That brings the Dallas Cowboys up. You would think Nakobe Dean would be a really good fit here. Trent McDuffie would be a really good fit here. Travis Jones would be a really good fit here, but Jerry Jones isn't going to do any of that, because he's going to draft Treylon Burks, because he's Jerry Jones, and that's something that he would absolutely do. And it is what it is. He's
going with Treylon Burks, the 46th ranked player on PFF's board. That's not going to get a good grade, but it could get some good production out of Treylon there with Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. For the Buffalo Bills, what do you give the team that has perhaps the best defense in the National Football League? You give them more defensive weapons, James, and I'm going to give them Trent McDuffie out of Washington.
Almost fell all the way to the Bucs. I was about to be super hyped.
Well, there's one player I'm very surprised is falling as far as he is, because he fell this far in our Locked On Commanders final first-round mock. I don't think it's going to happen, but he's still there, and we'll see what happens.
All right, so the Tennessee Titans on the clock. They need a lot of help on the defensive side of the ball, and my best friend since 6th grade is a diehard Titans fan, and I'm going to infuriate him by taking a linebacker, because that is when you have one of the best players still available on the board, you go ahead and take him, and that is Nakobe Dean, linebacker out of Georgia. He's an impactful player, and he's going to help that defense immediately. You know, you could have gone in a couple of different directions. I don't think any of the wide receivers that are still kind of hanging out there really, really fit what the Titans want to do. You can find another weapon a little bit later. You're not going to find a Nakobe Dean later. So, David, that brings us to the Buccaneers, and we have a decision to make.
We do. So we got Zion Johnson is on the board still.
Yeah.
Cine is on the board still.
Yeah.
Travis Jones is on the board, and Kaiir Elam all on the board. I mean, Jermaine Johnson is still on the board. Jermaine Johnson's the guy I was talking about, by the way. I don't see this Florida State kid getting this far. Now, do we take advantage of that fact and do we take him here for the Bucs, or do we kind of go and look at the more expected options that are going to be here at this point in time, which is Zion, Travis, Kaiir, and Lewis?
Out of sheer curiosity, I know we're not doing it, but what are the trade offers that we got?
So the trade offers we get here. So Kansas City is looking to move up from 29 to 27. Cincinnati is looking to move up from 31 to 27. The problem here is, I mean, even if you go 29, the next pick Kansas City can give you is 50. You want second round, you know what I mean? And you want like early second round if you're going to move back, I think. The Bengals 31, they can give you 63. That's not any better. So I think the best you're going here is 29 and 30 for 27. I don't know. That's not, yeah, you're going to have to give up more to get that. That math isn't going to, or not 29, 30, 29, 50. And yeah, that math still isn't going to work. You're going to have to give up probably, I don't know, 60, has an 86% chance according to PFF, 91. So you're going to have to give up 60. So, I mean, you're moving back 2, you move up 10.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to move back 2 spots, you might as well take the guy you want now.
Right. All right. So this is the problem that I ran into in my mock draft that I did on Wednesday's episode. And somebody in the YouTube comments was very unhappy with me because I did take Zion Johnson. Yeah. And the way the rest of my board fell, I didn't address corner until the 7th round. You know, I was, you know, trying to manufacture some of these things and I just couldn't. If I'm Jason Licht in this situation, and David, we could talk it out a little bit, I think I'm going Lewis Cine here, the safety from Georgia, because of some of the options that they're going to come across in the 2nd round as far as being able to address offensive line help, maybe defensive line help, get some depth there. My biggest selling point was Zion Johnson can immediately come in and compete for a spot. I think Lewis Cine comes in and immediately starts. I think he would beat out Keanu Neal and be a starting safety for the Buccaneers. What are your thoughts?
I think you're right on that. However, I also turned to another conversation that's very popular amongst people who listen to Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks of the Move the Sticks podcast, former NFL scouts, you know, very successful gentlemen themselves. And they have a saying here that are you talking about a truck or a trailer, right? Trucks pull the trailers. Trailers need to be pulled. Lewis Cine, I think he's a truck. I think he's a guy that makes your defense better. And if there's weaker defensive backs around him, he's going to make them a little bit better. Here's the problem. I think when you look at the Buccaneers defense, there's a reason they let Jordan Whitehead walk away without even making him an offer. Like, they didn't even offer him a league minimum, you know, whatever they felt like he'd get. They completely let him walk away, which is why he felt a little bit disrespected by it. And I don't think it had anything to do with Jordan Whitehead. I think it had to do with the fact that the position Jordan Whitehead plays is not critical to the Buccaneers defense. Like, if that position fails, they can still succeed. But if the cornerback position fails, this defense will fall apart. And I think when you look at Sean Murphy-Bunting, you look at Jamel Dean, I think Jamel Dean is a notch above SMB right now, but both of them have shown too much inconsistency during their career so far to really have a lot of confidence around them as far as what is going to happen in the 2023 offseason regarding their contracts. Neither of them is getting franchise tagged, but if either of them gets re-signed, it's going to be pivotal that this year they show more consistency and more consistent ability to play in this defense. If you have plenty of opportunity to learn, I think you bring in a Kaiir Elam. He physically fits what you want in this defense. And if worst case scenario, he's a really good 3rd or 4th cornerback, and you got 2 premium corners that just showed up and really balled out, you're not going to be able to sign both of them. So SMB or Jamel Dean, whichever, basically you put them in separate rooms, say, look, your buddy over there is getting a deal. You take the deal first, it's yours. Whoever signs first, you keep them. You got Carlton, that guy, and Kaiir, and whoever leaves, you maybe get yourself a 3rd or a 4th round comp pick the year following. You've got 2 cornerbacks with expiring contracts, 1 safety. So I think you prioritize the cornerback position.
So we're gonna have to figure this out.
Let's phone a friend. We're gonna call Brandon Olson,
unbiased
host of the Locked On Gators podcast.
Here's my argument. You can find maybe not quite as good as Kaiir Elam, but you will find a corner in the 2nd round closer to Kaiir Elam's capabilities than you will find a safety that is close to Lewis Cine's capability.
I disagree. I think you'll find a safety in the 2nd round closer to Lewis Cine. I'm talking Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State versus a cornerback of Kaiir Elam's caliber. You want to know what the tiebreaker can be? Scott Smith, senior writer and editor of Buccaneers.com. We talked about the ultimate mock draft, and Lewis Cine was still on the board. If you remember, he said he would have taken Kaiir Elam.
You're just bringing up tiebreakers that fit your argument. That's what this is.
That's how this game is played.
No.
You make a good point, James. And safety, listen, the safety class, actually, I just had this conversation with Chris Russell and Locked On Commanders. There are about 5 safeties that I would be comfortable adding to my team. Lewis Cine is one of them. Kyle Hamilton, obviously, is one of them. He's already gone. Jaquan Brisker is one of them. Jalen Petrie and Dax Hill are the others. And honestly, Jalen Petrie and Dax Hill are cornerbacks / safeties. I think this team needs to be done with the slashes. We've got too many slash players on this defense already. We need some solid players. So we're going to go with a safety that is a safety, and that is safety Lewis Cine, safety out of Georgia. And the Yarcho household celebrates.
Rejoices. Not to mention national championship MVP.
National championship MVP.
That's
playmaker, ball hawk. Yeah.
That's big players show up in big games. And he certainly did that. All right. The Green Bay Packers, we're going to go back to back out of Georgia. George Pickens, wide receiver.
Ooh, bypassing Sky Moore. We're finally giving A-Rod a wide receiver. So
I really didn't want to. I wanted to give them a punter as well.
Note to Aaron Rodgers, just saying, Goody Kuntz isn't goody to you in this draft. You know where to come to get some wide receiver help. All right, Kansas City Chiefs are also going to take a punter. I think Sky Moore. I think that's kind of the obvious. I mean, he's not Tyreek Hill, reincarnated in the NFL form, but he's small, he's quick, he's fast, he's a playmaker. I think Sky Moore is your guy in Kansas City for the first pick.
All right, and then the second pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. I really like Travis Jones here. Yeah. I really, really do. And I think that needs to be the pick. I was leaning a little bit.
Oh, I was terrified you were about to say but.
I was leaning a little bit towards Kaiir Elam, but I think they need to help out their pass rush, help out their defensive line a little bit, especially in a division now that is easily the most difficult one in the National Football League. And that leaves you with a really, really tough choice for the Cincinnati Bengals. Wow. Not even considering the fact that their number one corner is Eli Apple. You took Zion Johnson without hesitation. Wow.
Zion Johnson. You got to protect the franchise, homie. You'll come back in a second and you'll get yourself a corner.
They just spent so much money in free agency on that offensive line. They don't have anybody at corner.
You know what? You might be right. I might have got a little cocky there. But you know what? Zion's not going to Detroit. So even if we want to pretend that was different, Kaiir Elam was probably a better pick. I'll admit defeat on that one, but we're not redoing this. So Zion Johnson's the guy.
All right. Zach. Detroit Lions. They get that 5th-year option on the back end of the
Jermaine Johnson is still on this board.
I don't understand it either, but the Lions are taking Sam Howell because they're going to get a 5th-year option, and their current quarterback is Jared Goff.
Vikings, Bears, and Packers fans rejoice.
They can't have it.
You got Baker Mayfield without the edge. I got news for everybody. The edge makes Baker better.
What have we done?
Listen, I apologize to everybody who had to sit through this for watching what just happened here. For better draft knowledge, head to the Locked On NFL YouTube page right now.
But none of these picks are like, really? I mean, I do kind of disagree with you going Kenny Pickett at number 5, but you disagreed with me pounding the table for Lewis Cine, so it is what it is. But there's not a single player on this list that you look at and you say there's no chance he gets drafted in the first round.
Right. I mean, listen, I don't want to say I disagreed with Lewis Cine. I just didn't like Lewis Cine as much as I preferred Kaiir Elam. I like Lewis Cine. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, when I go back to this, right? So revisionist history, like I think the Pats, maybe they go Treylon Burks, instead of Andrew Booth Jr. And then maybe the Cowboys add Andrew Booth Jr. in that spot. But Trent McDuffie, I mean, I like him. I think he does well for the Buffalo Bills. And when you look at the AFC and the firepower they've kind of added in the offseason, I think you need some more pass defense, but maybe Jermaine Johnson, maybe he goes to Buffalo. I mean, that would be pretty dangerous there as well. So, I mean, there's some picks here that you could interchange. But I think that, let me see here. So Charles Davis had 7 wide receivers going in his last mock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 as well. So we are Charles Davis disciples.
That's right. And you know what? Trent McDuffie. That's who I was looking for.
Trent McDuffie, the corner going to Buffalo.
Trent McDuffie falling all the way to 25 is what threw this off completely.
Perhaps.
Kaiir Elam would have gone in here, and I don't think Johnson slips all the way out of the first round. If McDuffie goes higher, he ends up slotting in somewhere else.
Here's the problem with McDuffie is there are people out there, there are teams and D coordinators that have a height requirement. Like, doesn't matter what the film shows, doesn't matter what the testing shows. If you aren't a certain height, we're not taking you. So Trent could get passed up just because of that. Honestly, Buffalo, I mean, when you look at them, you look at Tre'Davious White and you look at some of the things that they've done, they honestly could actually end up going with Kaiir Elam over even a Trent McDuffie, and you have Trent McDuffie end up on the board for Tennessee or for Tampa. And I don't know that Tampa's defense is height restricted, but I don't know that I want Trent McDuffie playing in that system either, to be honest with you.
Oh no, I absolutely do not want Trent.
So, you know, I mean, he could be the surprise slider of this draft, to be quite honest with you, just because of the measurables. Yeah,
he could, and we know there's going to be somebody that it's like, I thought that dude was a shoo-in for a top 15 pick who's going to slide all the way to like 31. Like, we see it happen every
and then
year.
There's going to be a Jamin Davis, you know.
Yeah.
The Washington football team at the time took Jamin Davis in the first round. Everybody's like, oh yeah, Jamin Davis, totally heard of that guy before. So that could be your Chad Muma. Like, Chad Muma, somehow off-ball linebacker, third-round grade out of Wyoming, is taken at 26 by the Tennessee Titans, and Mike Vrabel gets fired probably.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up our bonus episode of Locked On Bucs as we went through the entire first round. Buccaneers come away with safety Lewis Cine, national championship MVP, and out of the University of Georgia. Much to the chagrin of David, because he wanted Kaiir Elam. Again, not that he doesn't like Lewis Cine, but he wanted Kaiir Elam. Joshua Gardner is going to send me very angry and nasty tweets at the start of the NFL draft. But this bonus episode was brought to you by our friends at BlueNile.com. This Mother's Day, give mom something she'll treasure forever with fine jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off a $500 or more purchase. This podcast exclusive is only good through Mother's Day. Use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that will not give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. Now, when this episode is over, you all need to head over to the Locked On NFL YouTube page. Live coverage of the NFL draft all weekend long. Local experts giving their takes on the picks. I will be on there. David will be on there. Every team will be represented with their local experts talking about the picks that were made for the NFL franchises. It starts now, goes through the entire NFL draft. Again, that's the Locked On NFL YouTube page. You can check out everything David's doing over at BucsGameDay.com. Check out everything I'm doing over at BucsNation.com. Make sure you're following along on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at @JYarcho_Bucs, and at DHarrison82. We will be back with a recap of the first round on tomorrow's episode, and then we're going to drop another episode on Saturday to talk about rounds 2 and 3. Locked On Bucs all week long, draft coverage. We appreciate all of you for making us your first listen or view of the day. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, be good to one another, fire those cannons. We thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucs.